First off, I want to say all praise to Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the Akim out here pushing this word in all sincerity and all truth. This is Baraka Bash from the James Jamaica camp. This lesson is going to be pretty much a response, not really a response because I'm responding to the video, but this video inspired me, to do a little bit of research. Not a lot, the Spirit actually led me to this article fairly quickly, so it's based upon this video that the Ella Yeshawamba did recently. He did it yesterday, right? A modern example of Cornelius, in which he brought out that there was a black soldier in Chernobyl, and he's Russian, right? And he pretty much was bringing out the point that you have Israelite groups and Christians also who believe that Cornelius was not an Israelite, because it says that he was of the Italian band, and I pretty much did some research and I found this site jstor.org. They have some articles here. One article I found was Sons of Israel in Caesar's Service, Jewish soldiers in the Roman military. Right? So let's just pretty much bring out Acts 10:1, and then we can go through some of the history, and hopefully through the spirit of power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Kodash, this lesson is edifying, to the elect. This is Acts chapter 10 verse 1. There was a certain man in Caesarea named Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band. Right? And if you look up that word centurion, here's the Greek.
Strong's G 1543. Hekatantarches.
Right, and it says an officer in the Roman army, captain of 100 men, centurion. Right, so he was an officer in the Roman army with 100 men under him. Right, so he was an officer of 100. Right, we're gonna bring out an example, couple examples from this article here entitled "Sons of Israel in Caesar's Service." Right, so let's read the abstract. It says the participation of a Roman. Let me see if I can get it a little bit bigger. I hope brothers can see it. There we go. It says the participation of Roman Jewish soldiers in the armies of imperial Rome often go unrecognized. This is mainly a result of lack of recognition on the part of scholars who wish to use rabbinic sources as the benchmark for Jewish practice in the imperial age. It is also difficult to identify Jewish soldiers, many of whom had Greek and Latin names, right? Unless they are specifically identified as Jews or are found in a Jewish context, such as dedicatory inscriptions from a synagogue. Nevertheless, by using a variety of sources from the period, it is possible to appreciate the depth and breadth of Jewish service in the Roman legions from the time of Caesar down to the early 5th century. There were Jews who served as simple foot soldiers, influential generals like Tiberius Julius Alexander, which we're going to get into, and Jewish military units such as the Regai, Emesini, Judai, if I'm pronouncing that right. Regardless of their relationship to Orthodox Jewish communities of the time, the service of Roman Jews in imperial armed forces must be recognized. Right? And the one I want to bring out, the first example is Tiberius. Right? So we're going to read from here. It says, a great number of prestigious military men were available for the post, including Annaeus Vinicianus, son-in-law of the famed General Corbulo, but Vespasian made the unlikely choice of an Alexandrian Jew named Tiberius Julius Alexander to spearhead the Roman army in its effort to thwart the Jewish uprising, right? Which we know who Vespasian is, we know who Titus is, and there's Titus, there's Vespasian, and then there's Domitian. So we know those three Edomites were primarily responsible for the destruction of Jerusalem, right? And they were Jewish soldiers who helped him, right? The emperor's decision was to prove fortuitous, meaning it was it was, what do you call it now? It was beneficial, pretty much. And not only did Tiberius Alexander coordinate a Roman victory in Judea, but he also became Titus's trusted advisor and may have eventually reached the rank of Praetorian Prefect, right, which is a very, very high rank in the Roman army, right? The Praetorian Prefect were usually it's like the secret service, right, for the Roman Empire, right? So this Jew, this Alexandrian Jew, right, reached a high rank, right, in the Roman army. He was Titus's trusted advisor. It says, despite the outstanding military career of this Alexandrian Jew, his name and his legacy are largely unknown outside a small circle of specialists. Likewise, the participation of Jews in the Roman military is a topic that is underemphasized or frankly ignored. Right? Most often, scholars quote the exemptions from military service granted to Jews at Ephesus and Delos, or elaborate on the difficulties that Sabbath of observance and dietary laws pose to Jewish men interested in serving under the imperial flag. But there are a lot of Jews that neglected, being a part of the Jewish religion. Thus, without any documentation of sources, Scharf stated that Jews in the Roman army were descended from the bodyguard of the Emessene and Judean royal families who had intermarried and become pagans, right? Who had intermarried and become pagans, right? Meaning they left off from the Jewish religion, right? And they started keeping Greek and Latin and Roman customs, right? Smallwood states that military service was always bound to cause difficulties for the Jews of the diaspora because of their dietary laws, which made their inclusion in Gentile units impracticable, right? And their inability to carry out duties on the Sabbath, right? So it says, Applebaum claims that Jews in the Roman army were renegades, right? Let's go to the next page. And that Tiberius Julius Alexander is often recast as an apostate, meaning he has left, the Jewish religion, or left the traditions of his forefathers to serve as a Roman citizen, right? When it's acknowledged that there is no evidence for the fact, right? It says the lack of recognition given to Jewish soldiers who served in the Roman military seems primary for three main reasons. The dearth, meaning the lack of inscriptions and manuscripts specifically addressing Jews in Roman military. The inability to recognize Jews with Greek or Latin names unless they are identified as such. And the tendency of many scholars to rely on rabbinic works and reconstitute normal practices in the Jewish practices in the Roman world. There's another example I want to bring up before I come back to this page. Here we go. It says Tiberius Julius Alexander, the Egyptian Jew, who was destined to become one of the most powerful personas in the empire, was born in the year 16 AD in Alexandria. His father, Alexander Lysimachus, which that should sound very very familiar, right? For those of you who are in the know, Lysimachus was a member of the Egyptian gentry, meaning royal family, right? The gentry are pretty much the aristocrats, the noble people, right? And customs chief on the Arabian frontier. Tiberius's uncle was none other than the famous philosopher Philo, right? Like many rich assimilated Jews in the city of Alexandria, Tiberius's family has received Roman citizenship during the reign of Augustus and expected their children to assume important posts in the imperial administration. From a young age, Tiberius and his brother Marcus were groomed for a position in Roman bureaucracy, right? It says their father eschewed a standard Jewish education, right? Let's look up what the word eschewed means so you can get some understanding on that, right? Right, so eschew means to deliberately avoid, right? So they deliberately avoided, right? So his father deliberately avoided standard Jewish education, meaning they weren't educated in the traditions of their forefathers, right? And instead has his children tutored in the classics, right? Meaning they learned Roman and Greek philosophy and knowledge and traditions as well. Once the boys reached manhood, Alexander Lysimachus arranged for his sons to enter disparate fields or separate fields in the Roman imperial service. Marcus, which was one of the sons, would become influential in the family's native city of Alexandria and eventually married Princess Berenice, the daughter of King Agrippa, right? Which you know, King Agrippa was the Agrippas were actually Edomites, right? So here we have this this son of an Israelite marrying Princess Berenice, which was the daughter of King Agrippa. So he married an Edomite woman, right? It says, meanwhile, Tiberius began his illustrious career in the Roman army, where his leadership skills and family connections allowed him to secure the post of governor in Thebaid in 42. Tiberius' success in this position prompted Emperor Claudius to appoint him procurator of Judea 4 years later, right? So he was very important, He was very important, right? Let me go back to another example, and it's not just, this example is going to show that it's not just Roman and Greek armies that were served in, Here we go, from this paragraph here, it says, by the time of Caesar, right, which was the first Caesar, Julius Caesar, right, Jews could already reflect on an illustrious 300-year history of armed services in Persia, right? That was the Persian Empire, which came before the Greek Empire, and the Hellenic East, not to mention the military exploits of the Hasmonean dynasty in the Jewish state proper. Throughout the Ptolemaic period, Jews served in every capacity in the Egyptian army. There were military colonies in Elephantine, border guards at Pelusium, and reservists in Epigone. Queen Cleopatra III's top military commanders were both Jews. Chelcias and Ananias, the sons of the legendary high priest Onias of Heliopolis, which we read about in First Maccabees, right? So all these examples shows the Hellenization of Jews, serving in the Roman army. But there were some who still kept their Jewish roots, which Cornelius was an example of that, right? So let's read from Acts 10 and 1 again. It says, there was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the Italian band, right? So this is an example of an Israelite serving in the Roman military. It said he was a devout man, one that feared Yahweh with all his house, which gave him much alms to the people and prayed to God always, right? So Cornelius was an Israelite, right, that served in the in the Roman military. Let's look at another example. This is Matthew chapter 8 verse 5. And when Yahushua was entered into Capernaum, there came unto him a centurion beseeching him. And Yahushua said, Lord, my servant lieth at home sick of the palsy, grievously tormented. And Yahushua said unto him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that thou shouldest come on my roof, but speak the words only, and my servant should be healed. Why did he say that? Because likely this centurion was one who had cast off, or who was not so into his Jewish roots, So he's saying he's unworthy. For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me, right? Meaning I am mixed up with the Roman army, And I say to this man, go, and he goeth, and to another, come, and he cometh, and to my servant, do this, and he doeth it. When Yahushua heard it, he marveled and said to them that followed, verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. Does that mean that the centurion was not an Israelite? Let's read on. And I say unto you that many shall come from the east and west, and shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. What does this mean? This is talking about those Gentile foreigners that were cast out, right? Coming back into the fold, right? And actual men who still recognize their Jewish roots being cast out, like the wicked scribes and the Pharisees, That's what that's talking about, Right? This is Ephesians chapter 2, and I'll start at verse 11. Wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands, that at that time we were without Yahushua, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without Yahweh in the world. But knowing Yahushua, ye were sometimes afar off, are made nigh by the blood of Yahushua. Right? So those who were sometimes afar off have now been called back. right? For he is our peace, who has made both one and has broken down the middle wall of partition between us, meaning between the circumcision and the uncircumcision, right? Jump to verse 16. It says, and that he might reconcile us both unto Yahweh in one body by the cross, having slain the enmity thereby. And the word reconcile here, let's bring it out. The word reconcile, let's play it. See what it means.
Strong's G 604, apakatalasso. Apakatalasso.
Which means to reconcile completely. To bring back, to reconcile back again. Right? To bring back a former state of harmony. So this is not talking about other, it's not talking about actual Gentiles coming into the faith, yo. Right? They were never in a former state of harmony with the Heavenly Father, yo. Because the word reconcile, right? If we look it up, it means to restore friendly relations between. There was never friendly relations between the heathen nations, the actual heathen nations, and Yahweh, yo. So there's no restoration to happen between them, right? Let's read from First Maccabees for other examples of Israelites who cast off their tradition. This is First Maccabees 1 verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome, and he reigned in 130th and 7th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days there went out wicked Israelite, out of Israel wicked men, Salakia, who persuaded men, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well, and certain of the people were so far therein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Wherefore they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, and according to the customs of the heathen, made themselves uncircumcised, forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves with the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. Right? And an example of that, right, is in this this document here, right, when it speaks about Tiberius, his father. Right, he said he eschewed meaning he deliberately avoided, right, a Jewish education, and instead had his children tutored in the classics, right? Even had one of them marrying the daughter of an Edomite, so marrying an Edomite, right? So that's pretty much it. I hope this lesson was edifying. This document goes on a bit further. It's actually 12 pages. I'll post a link. I'm not sure if brothers can be able to access it. I had to sign up to get access to it, but it was a free membership, and you can read 6 articles free every month. So I'll post the site in post production in case brothers are interested. So I hope this lesson was edifying. Again, Kalalallah, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, forgive me the spirit to this lesson. Shalom.